I've been saying this. If you think MRVL is a $1 trillion company, Cisco is a $1 trillion company too. Once that trend line breaks, we won't get a chance to enter them options per se on the weekly when this kind of breaks out. So you have to front run it. So I kind of front ran it yesterday.
They ended up moving from about 55 million a year in revenue in 2024 to 5.6 billion in total revenue in 2025. And they are targeting rather 50 billion in annual revenue in the next 5 to 10 years. That bipedal humanoid robots are going to be very, very common, and they're going to be part of our everyday lives. He has institutions that are willing to just straight up hand him north of $3 billion.
Your risk reward here is like 1 point down and 20 points up. So it's a keen bet. That is how I kind of see it. So you can probably play like 260 calls or 270 calls on this.
Cause we pop 'em like overred and vodka. C3, okay, a millionaire. I'm a young money millionaire.
We're bringing back the mini monsters, and this may be the new show because I realize that's what you do. You find these mini monsters like FRMI, which we will definitely be touching on today. Also going to be talking about ONDS, SoundCloud, QXO, which I have not done enough digging on myself. So how you feeling, first of all, Father?
Doing great, man. Doing great. We have had, a lot of the tickers that we've mentioned here over the past few weeks, over the past few episodes, have really started exploding. We have made some rather bold predictions, and a lot of them have, come to pass as true. So, doing great, man. Doing great.
Yesterday's show, for those that watched, we mentioned OnCloud getting wrecked, so that was good. And what was the other one we touched on? A lot of them yesterday, but I think the biggest news to touch on from last week, FRMI. So they did finally get someone to come in, and there's more to come, which is very exciting. So
absolutely,
walk us through that news. Why is it not higher today? To be honest, because I figured like maybe it was a buy the rumor, sell the news, but 2 weeks back. But I think it was around where it's sitting at now today. Are they still waiting for this next one, or where's your head at?
So what I'm thinking, right? So I guess first of all, we should start off with what actually has happened, what we already know.
Yep.
So first and foremost, we had some news that the first tenant has signed with FRMI to occupy, to be honest with you, a rather small section of TensorWave, right? So TensorWave is a small private company. They're backed by AMD, funded by AMD. And this agreement is going to cover a portion of the campus that's supported by 222 megawatts of power. So this lease is expected to generate about $6.5 billion in revenue over the course of 15 years. That's going to be beginning in the second half of 2027. And that represents revenues of about 433 million annually from this one deal. Now, there are also expansion rights that are baked into this lease agreement, and they would allow TensorWave to occupy more space, right? That's supported by up to 650 megawatts of power. If we scale this by the current pricing that we know exists from that initial 222 megawatts, this would take the total revenue to just under 19 billion over 15 years. Of course, that'd be prorated from the expansion date, and that would be about 1.26 billion annually. So prior to the expansion of the contract, where it sits at the moment, this represents about 12% of FRMI's planned phase one rollout. So there's a lot of room for more tenants. FRMI management during that press release also specifically noted that talks with other tenants have been progressing. So this is not the only talk that they were engaged in. There are, more to come. Now, earlier in the day yesterday, Riot also announced the signing.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, I was about to say, right? So Riot, we saw like 2 weeks ago, we had the ones from Hut 8 and Iris Energy, and Riot announced the signing of a long-term data center lease agreement. And I think that the big thing that we can pull from all of this is that the demand for data centers is sustained, right?
Mhm.
Like it's not going anywhere. It's getting a lot of traction. So
It's like the gold rush. It feels like it's like
absolutely.
everyone's going, and yeah.
Yeah, and you know, there are I think that a little bit different than the gold rush, right? Like if we're talking kind of comparing it to the gold rush, with the gold rush, you had just a handful of people that actually staked claims that had gold. But here, it's not so much like trying to find this thing and we're not sure if it exists, right? It's you know, questionable if it's here. Um, like we know that the demand is here. We know that it exists. So the volume in after hours, where it launched up over 30% from the close, was pretty light, and gains were pared back, right? But I think that something that we also need to realize is that there's significant gamma exposure sitting at $7, $7.50, and $8, as well as 10. The put to call ratio very much leans to the Bulls' favor, right, with calls outnumbering puts tremendously, and we
Oops, sorry.
should expect that there could be a little bit of a resistance here, right? As you know, basically,
How much more capacity would coming back to FRMI? How much more capacity? Because I think earnings are on Friday. Is that right?
Thursday.
Okay. So 2 days from now. So earnings are on Thursday. Do you think they'll make another announcement? Obviously, they'll talk about this deal.
I'm not sure that another tenant is going to be announced on earnings. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love for that to happen.
Yeah.
But not sure that that's going to happen. You know, these deals take a lot of time, generally months to you know, get finalized and actually get ready and going.
Yeah.
But what I do expect from them are updates on the construction of the facility at Project Matador, right? So expecting to hear some updates regarding like the Siemens natural gas turbines that arrived in the Port of Houston a few weeks ago, expecting that those should probably be at the site, and, you know, hear a little bit about construction and hear a little bit about, you know, kind of forward expectations on some of those capital expenditures, which of course is something that we really, really need to be interested in.
Another one you wanted to touch on was ONDS, which was ONDS shares ripped, I think, at like 35% on the month right now. What are you seeing with them? Because they were back in the pounding the table days. They were summer 2020. I remember hearing about them initially, and they've grown quite a bit.
So ONDS is a really unique company. First of all, I think that the first thing that we have to start off with is Eric Brock, right? Their CEO. So Eric comes from a background in finance. He's a very, very smart guy. I actually had the opportunity to listen to him speak and to ask him a few questions in a really private setting on a Discord call one day, right? He ended up going into a Discord with about 30 of us and just shooting the shit with us. It was great. Very intelligent guy. And I really like the way that he has been going around or going about building out this company. So they founded, or rather they kind of opened up a subsidiary, which was ONDS Capital. And what they've been doing is they have been doing strategic acquisitions to basically consolidate the drone and drone defense space.
Is that Cyberhawk
that I pulled up? Yep. So that's one of them. That's one of them. They have bought, God, probably 12 or 13 companies now. Their most recent acquisition, has existing contracts with the U.S. and the German government, as well as a few different things. And you know, when we're talking about ONDS, what we have to realize is that there are a lot of expenses that are coming out right now, but all of it is accretive, right? Because they are using basically their free cash flow. They took on a little bit of debt that's very, very serviceable, and they're using it to, again, consolidate this space. So I think that it's a really strong strategy, right? Buy your way into, kind of ownership of this ecosystem, right? And with the budget appropriation bill that's going to be coming out and being voted for in October, and I do expect that it's going to pass because it's a very routine thing. The budget for the military is going to double. So within that, there are some provisions saying that a good chunk of this is going to go towards drones and anti-drone defense systems. Well, ONDS is really like it is the only publicly traded company that I can see really benefiting from this. The other one is private, right? It's of course Anduril. So I think that those would be the two big recipients of any kind of contract.
To bring this to life, dude, I mean, I know they obviously do a lot more, but Centrix, which is a subsidiary, just saw on August 7th, so last week, partnered with the Jacksonville Jaguars to do counter UAV capability. So
Yep.
What a world we live in, that this is a reality now. That
they were also during the World Cup, they were running all of the counter UAV stuff.
How about every airport needs this too? Probably.
I would say that every airport needs this. If you have like concert venues or stadiums where sports are being played, right? You're going to want that there. Basically anywhere where you are going to have a ton of people. I could even see it turning into something where, in the not so distant future, that we have these basically anti-drone, I guess we can kind of call them like defense nets that are around major cities. That doesn't really seem too far out of reach to me.
No, I wish I had Joey on because he's dug in more with Axon's capabilities. But I wonder, is there Axon?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Any chance they partner?
Ooh, I mean, speculative, right? Speculative, but it wouldn't be the it wouldn't be the craziest thing if they partnered. They kind of occupy a similar space. I mean, Axon is a little bit more diverse, right? Is what I would say. They're not like solely focused on the drones and the anti-drone systems. And in all fairness, ONDS isn't really either, right? Like they do have like a railroad component to the business, but it kind of goes off by the wayside. It is a good free cash generator, but it's not sexy, so people don't really talk about it too much, and it's not the high growth segment for them.
So I just pulled up this tweet that was going over what you're talking about. So yeah, that'd be a massive. This guy says any halfway decent drone prototype is getting 10 million to 40 million in funding. So
absolutely.
A good one will get significantly more. What are the inroads? I know you love seeing where there is what's the word I'm looking for? Illegal, not like with Rick Perry. You're like corruption is the word I'm looking for.
Yep. So with this one,
Trump here,
what I really found was interesting about ONDS is that they ended up moving their headquarters to be in close proximity to Mar-a-Lago.
Okay. I like this more.
And so that was definitely like a big tell. Like, okay, well, they're positioning themselves in a place where they can, maybe curry a little bit of favor, with the current administration.
I used to
and of
joke
course,
that
the current
Zuckerberg
administration loves to have their ass kissed, for lack of a better way to say that.
Policy tailwind I'm looking to see. Personal link. ONDS co-led a strategic investment with FPF Defense, which is led by former acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller. Miller was Trump's acting Secretary of Defense in his first term. All right. There's some connections here. I like to look at the web.
Absolutely.
Look at the web on the web.
It's important to understand not only the what is the product, what is the total addressable market for the product, but also what social circles can enable the growth of this company. right? And so I think you're spot on with that, and in just that's the way that we should look at these things. And
What?
it's funny when it comes to Eric Brock. One thing that I really like, I mean, hell, this is going to be on Twitter. If you tag ONDS, there's a good chance that he sees this, because
Bring him on.
dude, I would love that. I would love to sit and talk with him. See if he'll come on next week. But
We'll tag him.
yeah, but he like anywhere that people are talking about drones, he is just there. He's interacting with individual shareholders. He's on Twitter all the time. He's out making the rounds. He's doing, again, like small little events where he came into a Discord and talked to, again, 30 of us. And it's not like that was going to, cause this big surge, from 30 individual investors. But it's the fact that he cares enough about it, and he loves talking about it enough to come in and do that. And what I value in a CEO and in leadership, aside from just the expertise and the right connections, is the fucking passion. Okay. And nobody can accuse Eric Brock of being anything but passionate about this. So honestly, like, a big part of my confidence in it is because of him.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to get behind the founders that he's not a, was he the original founder, or he's just came on as CEO?
I don't think he was the original founder. He came on as CEO, but he is, by far the person that's responsible for the growth, right? He's kind of the visionary leader.
Okay.
So.
Now we got Nebius on Wednesday. We talk about them too much, so I don't need to talk too much about them. But the angle I want to bring up, because I said, what is the bear case? A lot of their quote revenue is orders, similar to Nebius right now, right? So like the projection, how long do these take to come into fruition? You're paying like a pretty massive multiple, against the actual revenue.
Absolutely.
When does this start to like actually become a profitable business?
To be honest with you, I think that probably in the next year and a half. So
Okay.
relatively short time period for the market. I think that people are going to be really, really surprised. They have been expanding their manufacturing capabilities quite a bit. And I expect that they're going to start chewing through this backlog. However, simultaneously, I believe that the backlog is just going to continue to grow, right? So the demand for drones, quality drones, is huge, right? It's just absolutely massive. The addressable market is huge, and it's growing day by day. So what I was looking for when I wanted to get into drones, and again, like we've talked about robotics, right? I think that drones are robots, right? I mean, I think we can agree on that. I wanted to look at the people that are really building out the foundation to be able to secure that market going forward in the future, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at it, I'm not so concerned about right now, although I do think that with their earnings report coming out Thursday, that we likely see a double beat. Is kind of how I'm feeling, and I think that they are going to raise their forward guidance for revenues for this year. Another time, right? They've already done it, I think, twice this year. I think another one is coming, and I'm really confident that these guys can execute, because so far they have been.
Yeah. 2 years from now, when Trump, if the presidency goes back, how like military budgets are like kind of set in stone. I don't know how that all works, but could it flip where they, take cut budgets from this era?
Well, so yes, that could happen. However, what I would say is that if we look at things historically, when these budgets increase, they often don't decrease.
All right.
Right. So we can go and look at the immense spending that was done under George W. Bush, and when Obama took office, that spending did not decrease. In fact, it actually increased. Right. So it's funny because you kind of get this. you get some of these comments where it's like, oh, well, they're going to slash the military budget if a Democrat wins. And, that couldn't be further from the truth, right?
Right.
Both of our political parties are honestly war hawks in this country. And I think that we can agree on that, right? So I don't see that coming. And then additionally, it's funny because sometimes you kind of get the well, there's a Trump connection, right? So maybe they're going to undo it. Well, Palantir has a Trump connection, right? But I don't think that they are going to go anywhere. I don't think that they are going to lose any kind of business. If anything, I think that their business with the government is only going to grow. And also Palantir and ONDS, side note, they are partnered and they do work together, right? So Palantir provides some of the AI and software to allow these drones to act autonomously. So,
how does it compare to, I was just pulling up some competitors, so like Drone Shield, D-Drone, which is an Axon company, so maybe they have their own, Endural. I mean, you think the pie is big enough for all of these guys to succeed, or is there?
I think that the two big ones that are going to succeed are ONDS and Endural. I think that there are a few others, like for instance, what is it called? RCAT. It's RCAT is the ticker. Red Cat.
Red Cat.
Yeah. Those guys, I don't think that they're going to succeed. I don't think that they're going to succeed in a big way. And Axon, I think that there is enough space where you can have 3 or 4 major providers, right?
Yeah.
Just because, again, I think that the future of warfare, and even warfare in its in modernity, right, is very much focused on drones. I mean, we saw how
China's got like prints $1 million a day or something crazy.
But they suck, right? Like those are basically like the equivalent of what you could buy on Amazon, right?
Temu,
but cheaper. Yeah, literally the Temu drones. But even then, I would say that even with those Temu drones, we saw how effective those Temu drones have been in Ukraine, right? So we have actual cases of their success, right? And I mean, you had Ukrainian soldiers taking some of these like $100 drones, ones that basically
like kamikaze them,
like
right?
a hobbyist would use. Yeah. Well, so I saw one where they had a little rope with like a little basically a little pulley, and it had a bucket that was full of like grenades, and they just dropped it. So like there's all sorts of crazy stuff that drones basically enable. And if you have high quality drones, that's an entirely different story. And one of the big things is that when we're talking about the military grade drones, as opposed to like the hobbyist drones, we're talking about like drone swarms, right? And number one, I just think about that psychologically. Okay. You live in some, and pardon me for this, right? But you live in some shithole country in the Middle East, right? You guys don't have crazy tech, and suddenly, there's 100 drones. They're all flying at you all at the same time, and they're going to scare the ever living shit out of you. And that's
turn the volume down. Sorry, this is crazy.
It's absolutely nuts, and that's just one. Again, imagine there's a fucking swarm. Yeah.
Wow. What a play. That's crazy.
So anyone that thinks, wow, he literally almost shot his buddy there. That was actually pretty wild. But again, imagine that you have one drone doing that. Now think about what hundreds or thousands of them can do when they are working in unison.
Yeah, it's a scary world we're living.
This is the future.
That's a clip, dude. All right, I think I'm in. I gotta do a little more research, but I like it. This is a mini monster off the top of my dome. We also wanted to talk. So we touched on FRMI, we touched on ONDS, SoundHound. So that was they just had their earnings, right?
Yep, they just had their earnings last Wednesday.
Okay,
and they absolutely crushed it. So they. Not only did they up their guidance, but they posted a double beat.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is a company, again, I want to remind you, that has zero debt. Okay.
200 million cash.
200 million in cash. They are about to be acquiring LivePerson, and with it through an all stock deal, and paying off all of their debt. So the resulting company will have zero net debt and will be basically highly synergistic, right? Just kind of like voice AI. Now, so they posted that beat. They increased their guidance, and the short interest is still about 46%, or at least it was on the last report. Just kind of judging by the amount of volume that is traded since then, I don't think that there is a way that all of them have been able to escape and trade their way out of this. The price is still elevated. The majority of those short positions were entered under $7, and even after drawing back down a bit, SoundHound is currently trading at $7.34. So there is a little bit of pressure that's being applied to them, and there are about 55,000 call contracts that are expiring next Friday. So not the 14th, but the 21st, for the $8 calls. And as we approach that, if those go into the money, right, and price can go just a little bit higher, I think that the hedging that is kind of resulting from that is, I think that it's going to be some really, really serious pressure. So this thing was priced
by the way?
Going bankrupt.
This is from April, but 4:30 a.m. tweet too. That's kind of funny.
That is funny.
He asked what's the equivalent of stock of buying NVIDIA in April 2021? That's nobody taken seriously. And Grok came up with SoundCloud or SoundHound. Yep. Sorry. That's cool.
It's funny because so a lot of people are focused on like some of the customer service aspects, right? And that's something that we had talked about here. But I do want to say that there is like this second part to my thesis, right? Which is something that I wanted to see everything on that first part come to fruition first, right? And now that it has, I think that it's time to kind of talk about that second piece. So what I want you to think about is, again, and I've been getting really into robotics lately because I'm a firm believer that in the next 5 to 10 years, that bipedal humanoid robots are going to be very, very common, and they are going to be part of our everyday lives. Now, in addition to obviously the hardware, right, that is necessary to run them and to make sure that they work, right? In addition to the power that is needed to keep them operating, in addition to the photonics, right, that sense basically location and movement. One of the big things that I think we need to recognize is that they also need to be able to receive verbal commands and understand them contextually. And I don't mean something like, Siri on your phone, right? I don't mean something like Alexa, where it can basically take that prompt and just understand, or pardon me, like kind of translate it into text and perform a Google search for you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you being able to give it a command, and it is able to process that and understand, in order to fulfill this command, I need to do X, Y, and Z. Right? So I think that's a big piece of it. Yeah, I think that that's a big piece of it. And I think that while it's something that isn't happening right now, I believe that all of the framework is being set up today for when that happens in the future. And so one of the big things that I want to that I want to see, right, is I want to see who is setting up that framework, who is building out that software, and who can easily transition when the time comes, and be able to land deals specifically in the robotics segment. And I think that SoundHound is probably the best choice for it, right? They're the best candidate.
So I was looking at 5 and 4, which are kind of connected here. So the guides seem sandbagged because none of this LivePerson acquisition apparently is in the forward guidance.
Correct.
On August
Well, it's because
20th,
it hasn't closed yet, right? So,
so yeah, on August 20th, they're having the shareholder vote. So, and then this piece too here was interesting. The platform. So this is kind of reminiscent almost of Palantir, kind of where it's coming in. I don't know if it's as big, but I agree with what you're saying here. This is interesting.
Yeah, I think that it's funny because, again, when people think of SoundHound and they think of AI as it relates to voice and audio, they kind of default to what it's being used for right now, right? Which is a lot of like conversational stuff. It's a lot of customer service stuff. But what they are missing is what it will become, what it has to become, right? Which is something that is far, far greater than what exists right now. So I agree with that wholeheartedly, right? That I think that calling it just a product is a little bit short-sighted. And maybe this takes time to play out. It's going to take a few years probably to play out. But
so they're connected in, I was just looking up. So they're with Kia, Honda, Hyundai, White Castle, Tow. So it's a ton of different industries too, which is good to see.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're not reliant on just one. I mean, so it's funny because I was talking to a buddy of mine about SoundHound late last week, or maybe even over the weekend. And, he was talking about, like I went to Taco Bell and they had this AI voice thing. And I was like, well, guess who makes that?
It's coming.
Guess who makes that? Right? It's SoundHound. Yeah. Like this is something that exists. It's something that is going to continue to grow. I mean, and again, that's just kind of in like the retail customer facing space in customer service. But what they do just extends far beyond that. Right? Far beyond that.
What's the bear case here?
I think that the bear case is that there is going to be a decent bit of R&D expenses. It's that, they aren't turning a profit yet, and that's fair, right? That's fair. I think it's a little short-sighted, but it is completely fair that they haven't made a penny in profit yet. But if you look at this most recent earnings, I think that it shows that we are incredibly close to that inflection point where profits start to come in. And I think that with the LivePerson acquisition, where they are able to do it solely through, basically an all-share transaction, I think that their revenues are going to push this to that next level where a profit is being turned, right? So,
have they done a ton of like offerings at all?
They did in the past, but they haven't really needed to recently because they have
200 million cash.
Yeah, they have 200 million cash. They have a decent bit of cash flow that comes in and kind of offsets a lot of those expenses right now. So, I think that the big cash burn like portion of this story is kind of done. And I think that now we are going towards the time where shareholder value is really going to start to be created. And I would expect that they're profitable in the next quarter or two. So, by the end of the year, I think that they're going to be turning a profit and increasing their margins and continuing to turn a profit, increasingly so. And part of it is going to be driven by some of the existing contracts in that LivePerson acquisition, as well as existing synergies between SoundHound and LivePerson, right?
Just walk me back again. What's the technical integration from like a high level of what it enables them to do, and then do they bring customers that they can cross sell, with the current products they have? So
basically, like a high level overview of what this does is, again, it is conversational AI. So it's specifically, I think that, again, we need to draw that difference, right? When we're comparing it to something like Siri or like Shazam, where it can hear something and it can say, okay, this is like the text of what it is, but it can't really comprehend what you were saying contextually. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of like the big overview is that it is
Like the AI nerds, it's like, I don't know if you've heard of Whisper Flow, but it basically you can just talk to it, and instead of all this rambling thoughts, it will like process them to contextualize it. So
absolutely. Yeah. So it's I've never heard of that, but that is right. Kind of like one of the big things that it does, and that's the big edge over their competitors. And I think that when we're talking about it, it's just because of what it is, it's applicable to so many different industries. I mean, it's already in a bunch of different industries. And I think that there are some really interesting kind of cross-selling opportunities, especially if you see, for instance, like let's say that you called customer service for Walmart or Amazon or Staples, right? And you hear this AI and it is advanced and it's able to actually, again, contextualize the conversation, hold the conversation, and give you valuable feedback. Well, if you are, you know, if you are like an operations manager or a CEO of another company, you're probably going to hear that and you're going to say, wow, what the hell do I even need like a customer service call center for? Like, why am I paying these employees? Why am I paying their benefits? Right? It's dragging on SG&A when I could easily just replace it with SoundHound. So I think that the cross-selling opportunities exist solely because of what this does and the cost saving measures that it enables.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts? Just because I was just looking to like both of these. I asked Claude here, which one's better? They liked SoundHound better than ONDS, but they said both of them are doing a lot of ATMs, which dilute, the shares. Is this are both of these like 5-year out, 10-year out companies? I know, it's always important to think of timing because people will listen to this podcast and be like, what the fuck? It didn't move in like a week,
Yeah.
But these feel longer term to play out.
And, while I think that a squeeze can happen on SoundHound, I am a firm believer that in the short term, it is possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen. There's way too many variables to be able to say that with any kind of confidence. And, in regards to ONDS, while I think that they are going to trend up into their earnings and through their earnings, right? I will say that because there are existing bonds that are hedged by shorting shares, there is a lot of incentive to keep it kind of range bound at the moment, just to make sure that the bondholders are remaining like delta neutral, right? While they basically get paid the interest and they have levered exposure for whatever ends up coming next. So
I like that they're getting into healthcare too, though. I saw
absolutely.
that they're doing, was it 2 million pharmacies?
Yeah, they're doing, so SoundHound is doing basically like pharmacy, like kind of call centers, right? So where someone can call and they can place an order and SoundHound will, again, hear them, contextualize it, understand exactly what they need, and go and submit that order on their behalf. So it's adds just a lot of efficiency and it kind of streamlines it for the employees and for the companies.
Yeah, I'm very bullish.
But I think that over the next like 5-10 years, that yes, that is where you're going to start seeing the true gains come out, right? If we think about Palantir and their journey, I remember in 2020 and 2021, right during COVID, when it was a meme stock and everyone thought that it was doomed to failure. They thought that basically AI was just a gimmick at that point. And, they have proven absolutely everybody wrong. Big shout out to Michael Burry, who's very, very red on his Palantir position, on his Palantir short, right? So like we have seen a lot of the doubters. But again, Rome wasn't built in a day. It does take time. These are incredibly complex things to build out, between like the drone infrastructure for ONDS and then for everything that SoundHound has been creating. So while I think that both of them have upside in the short term, I think that the true upside, the true massive gains will come from holding on to these companies for 5 to 10 years. So a little bit of a longer term idea with some short term catalyst coming up.
Yeah, no, I'm bullish on voice in general. I think there's a company, Happy Robot, I spoke with, and I was just like shocked at the technology in terms of that. That's like, I guess, like a potential bear case that there's all these other like startups coming up really quickly here. Because I was shocked. I mean, I couldn't tell which one was the robot or not, and the robot would like laugh and like be like, if he said like a questionable joke or something like that, it would like laugh, and then it would say like, I need to tell my manager, hang on 1 second, and like it sounded so real. It's pretty crazy.
So it's funny because when we're talking about again, right, like you're saying that there's a lot of startups coming out with it, but I think that we need to draw that difference again between this is the company that has been doing this for a long time. They've been building out all of this for years. And then you have this startup who is just now going down that road. And, being first to market or one of the first to market is absolutely huge, right? One of the big reasons that, for instance, kind of circling back to Palantir, that they have done so well is because they've been working on this software for, upwards of 20 years. I mean, Palantir was not an overnight success story. They were privately funded, mostly by Peter Thiel. And, they did nothing but burn money for a long time. I mean, and then suddenly that big inflection point hit maybe about 5 years after they IPO'd, and they started turning a profit. And then suddenly everyone feels like a genius because they bought Palantir, while it was halfway up its current run. But again, right, if we're taking that and we're taking that kind of like Palantir comparison, do we think that it is because Palantir is so great that it's better than these startups? Or do we think that maybe that's part of it, but the rest of it is that they have spent the time building everything out?
Yep. No, it makes sense. I remember I worked with 3 or 4 early Palantir. I had no idea what the company was. I was like, what is this? They were taking like our smartest employees. And I was like, okay. Then I started paying attention. That was back in 2010. So before they IPO'd.
Palantir, just kind of as a side note, Palantir actually played a really large part in locating Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, but they've been around for a long time. This, again, is not an overnight success story.
The AI with the military is just crazy. I mean, I think
they have access to things that most people couldn't even comprehend.
It was like Claude or Anthropic was involved, and then they like backed out. They're like, we didn't want to. That was like the big news a while back.
I remember that. Yeah.
Got about 3 minutes. So I know you want QXO. I know nothing about these guys, or what this is. So
all right. So I'm gonna give you a real quick rundown on QXO. Okay. So QXO, CEO is Brad Jacobs. If you don't know him, go look him up. So this is the guy that was able to consolidate a lot of the construction rental equipments and form United Rentals. So that is now, I think, a $60 billion company. And it started from very humble beginnings. He also consolidated a lot of the, basically a lot of like the waste removal companies in rural areas. And he formed, I think it was called United Waste, which then sold, I believe, to Allied Waste. And basically he has a history, a very, very strong history of consolidating businesses under one umbrella. So kind of similar to what ONDS is doing, but this guy has just an amazing track record with it. So what QXO is doing is they are consolidating a lot of the building materials and distribution networks. So they have purchased some of the largest like roofing supply companies. They purchased Kodiak Lumber, which I think is like the second biggest supplier and distributor of lumber in North America. And within this portfolio, which, number one, it all synergizes together, right? It's very synergistic, right? You get the lumber, the weatherproofing, weatherproofing, siding, roofing, like all of these things make sense together. But consolidating all of that into a business, into one single entity is it could be incredibly profitable, right? You knock out a lot of the competition. You kind of buy your way into the industry. They have a lot of institutional backing. The institutional holdings are very huge. Brad Jacobs, again, stellar track record, and he has come out and publicly said that he has institutions that are willing to just straight up hand him north of $3 billion
Damn.
to continue to acquire businesses and basically build out this portfolio. So for me, this is really just kind of a bet on management. It's a bet on the fact that we are always going to need these building materials going forward. They ended up moving from about 55 million a year in revenue in 2024 to, I think it was 5.6 billion in total revenue in 2025. And they are guiding or targeting rather for by 2030, I believe, to have 50 billion in annual revenue. So even with a small margin, I mean, that is just a tremendous amount of money.
What was the history here? It was here, let me stop sharing this one.
So QXO was founded in the wake
The
of like
chart's
all
crazy.
of those. Okay. Oh, gotcha. The price action. Yeah. So when that big spike happened, that big squeeze, that was because Brad Jacobs joined as the CEO.
Interesting.
It was literally just his presence that caused that squeeze. And then they offered out of it, right, on the back end of it, and then ended up raising a ton of money. And then they have used that to, do strategic acquisitions and grow the business. So this guy is an absolute rock star. I was talking to a buddy of mine that works at a fund out of Miami. And I was like, man, have you ever heard of QXO? He's like, oh yeah, it's Brad Jacobs. He's like, I love that, dude. I hold the shit out of that. He's like, I'm holding that. I'll probably pass it down to my grandkids.
Morgan Stanley had a $35 price target on it as well. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if by like January of 2028, if this thing is 4x from where it is now, right? I think that this is going to end up being a $60 stock probably in the next year and a half. Not financial advice.
Yeah, I was about to say you better drop that.
Yeah, right. But
we got
in all honesty, that's how I feel. So.
You're welcome to stick around if you want. Problem Sniper's coming on as well. So Sniper, if you're here, come on. We'll keep talking until there he is.
There he is.
This is my friend, Father of Trades, who comes on before you. And I said, if you want to, you can stick around here. So Sniper is one of the best options traders I've been around since 2010, probably on FinTwit. So how we feeling, dude?
Good, man. I just lost on MU, so I'm like kind of bummed by it.
All right, well, I can take it off the board here, so we can.
No, it's okay. I think it's a great stock to play around right now. I don't know why there's that huge divergence from DRAM to MU. DRAM is up 3%, MU is down 1%, and S&D, KSK, NY, all these are up. I just don't get it. So I'm like, what's happening?
I saw Smarter Trader was pumping MU as well, thinking it's gonna go to 1,000. But MU is a wild one. I mean, it moves. When it moves, it moves.
I mean, I'm not even kidding, right? Like that stock, the chart looks absolutely amazing. Like yesterday, it was a double inside day, and I was looking at how it can break out. I was back testing it. Almost a 10% moves that can happen on MU after a double inside day is what I was looking at in a couple of days. So a 10% move off like $850 stock is like $100 almost. So I was kind of.
You have weeklies on those right now?
Yeah.
Okay. You took them off, or you still riding them?
No, I'm still in it.
Okay.
I'm down about 70% on them.
You got to let it go then. You got to let it rip.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. At least we have CPI coming in tomorrow, and the stock is holding. I'm not saying it's bad looking per se. It's still holding that 850 zone. But then when I share the chart, I'll show you what I'm looking at. So
yeah, I'll pull it up.
Yeah. Maybe one moment.
You're good.
Yeah, I think. Can you see my screen?
Let me there we go.
Okay. So when you look at this chart on the daily time frame, it looks absolutely amazing. Obviously, we don't have the pinch yet. Like the pinch is the 9 EMA crossing over the 20 EMA, but it's like basing, man. Like it's like right there. It's right near that trend line. Once that trend line breaks, we won't get a chance to enter them, enter options per se on the weekly when this kind of breaks out. So you have to front run it. So I kind of front ran it yesterday at the lows actually, but like today kind of like is hovering around there and eating up all the premiums and et cetera, et cetera. But once this thing kind of moves, it kind of moves very fast. I think that 955 to 1000 level is something that I'm looking out for once this upper trend line breaks. That is also like like there's so many confluences that I'm seeing. I saw the 940 calls for tomorrow being bought. These whales are kind of down like 80% from the highs. From their buy point. I also saw like you see the volume also kind of tapering off. This kind of
Mhm.
shows you that the sellers are getting weaker and weaker. Like this is the point where I would never enter, right? These points are where I would never enter because you see the red bars or the volume from the sellers also kind of increasing. That kind of tells me that there's some more sideways action or something like that that can happen. And now there's that clear downtrending volume on the on every drops as well. So I'm kind of more confident on this trade. I was more confident on this trade until yesterday. Obviously, options trades are all about timing, and I think I'm just caught off guard. Honestly, like if you look at MU and then you look at
MU does this though. Like I've when I was trading with Sam, like
uh-huh.
it would be down, and then it would just have that 100-point day.
Yeah,
So
exactly, right? Like MU is one of those stocks. I was like looking at the last time this divergence happened between SNDK, MU, and SKNY. SKNY was not trading on Nasdaq then; it was basically in Korea. And I was like looking at that divergence, and the next day, if DRAM had a follow through day, MU just pops up like 10 to 12%, and SKNY and SNDK were just up like 2 to 5%, and that's how it kind of leads the market when it runs.
Mm.
Yeah. When it kind of runs. So it can happen tomorrow. I'm not saying it will happen. It can happen, but today it's absolutely like bizarre to look at this price action when you see SNDK, the same sector stock up 2.5%, and then SKNY, this exact same sector stock again, is also up 3%. And if you look at
no
DRAM
negative
also,
news at all.
no negative news at all. Like if you look at okay, yeah, this is something that I want to mention too, right? Like yesterday when MU CEO spoke, talk about the chart following before the news, right? I was like, okay, this all this compression, and then the CEO comes out and he's like, we can only meet up to half the demand of our customers in 2027 and 2028. I see this demand going all the way until 2028, where people have been expecting it to be the second quarter of 2026 or second half of 2026. So the news is also positive. So it just doesn't make any sense to me right now. So
You
I'm
know,
still
I
trying to like wrap my head around it and see where I was wrong or what's happening here. But it's still a great looking chart. It's just a matter of time that kind of breaks out towards that 1050 zone.
Caleb, what were you saying in there too?
Well, I was going to say that I think that when we're talking about something that's such a high beta name, right? Something like that's in memory or semiconductors, that what we also have to recognize is that Nasdaq in particular has been bleeding out today, along with the other indices. Nasdaq is of course very very tech heavy and heavily weighted towards tech. I think that what we are seeing ahead of CPI, which every analyst basically is expecting that inflation is going to kind of cool down a little bit. But I think that what we're seeing is just a lot of gathering of liquidity, kind of right on this area of prior resistance. Right, we're seeing that this is not a change of trend, but rather consolidation along an area where we have seen support and resistance very, very close together. And I think that basically that there is just a pool of liquidity here. And if the news comes out tomorrow from the Fed and it's good, I think that honestly, we are maybe a day or two away from all-time highs in NASDAQ. If not, by the end of this week, then I'm kind of guessing next week. And that's, of course, assuming that something absolutely batshit crazy doesn't come out. But, I think that is going to drag up all these high beta names very, very quickly. So that's kind of how I've been operating, right? I've been buying the shit out of tech and also NASDAQ calls, literally just waiting for this to occur.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree. Like Nasdaq and SMH, like a very similar looking charts as well. Like you look at they're just consolidating right before breaking out that trend line and moving to all-time highs again. Like I think there's a full reset on SMH also that will happen along with Nasdaq. They have been lagging quite a bit. I know SPY RSP is also making new all-time highs. So.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the CPI or the PPI. I don't know what the nail in the coffin is, but something has to give for that.
What weeklies for MU would you be looking at, like at now, if you were to like re-enter? I know you're kind of underwater, you said, for the current ones.
I mean, I got into the 1,000 calls for this week's expiry. Obviously, they were about $2.28 or something. Now they are like around 70 cents or 65 cents. But I would look at the 900 calls right now.
900 calls it is.
We're
buying live, folks. We buy live on this show sometimes. The what else do we want to touch on? So where'd my tweet go? Dell, I remember you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, like what Caleb also mentioned, like Dell, another consolidating name.
Yeah, wow.
Absolutely amazing. Probably have to readjust this trend line again. But, this is a consolidation that's been happening for 100-point range. And once this upper trend line kind of breaks, probably take 500 for that target. Once that 500 breaks, we probably go all the way up to like 570, 580 on this. Obviously, we also have SMCI earnings coming out today, which also belongs to the same sector. And I've heard this quite a bit from SMCI also that, like SMCI, it's such a shitty company per se, like with respect to their finances, but they are like booked out. Usually when people are going to these second tier, third tier companies, like for example, when Intel said, oh, they're running out of to supply for the demand that they are seeing, like Intel chips, they don't use Intel chips in their own products, and people going for Intel chips is bizarre, right? Like that's when I was like, oh, AMD is going to rocket, and AMD now sitting almost at 500 almost at 500. This was about 260 or something that I heard that from Intel, and then that's what happened. And if SMCI is fully booked, SMCI starts saying, oh, we need to guide up, or something like that, I think Dell is one of the runners that you'll see in that space. So definitely a 100-point move that can happen here over that 500 barrier, but nice consolidation that's been happening on this stock as well.
I just bought the 460s for 828. Just kind of randomly threw that out there.
So this one I bought stock at 400. It obviously dipped down quite a bit after that, but then now I'm like in the green. But yeah, 400 is something that I bought stocks at on this one.
Amazing. We what was the other one we wanted to get over? Here we go. Target, Minnesota company.
Yeah. Target, I think I was talking about
this I didn't even realize.
Weekend. And this is, this been flagging. I mean, it's had a great 2026. Honestly, I would have never thought.
Yeah, wow. I had no idea.
It's something I didn't have on my bingo card. I got to be honest with you. I did not think that Target was going to do so well this year.
Yeah,
I mean, aren't paying attention to the time.
Their new CEO, all of that, and it's been doing pretty great.
Up 50% on the year.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah, for Target, like if you had leaps this year for 2027 or something, those are basically up like 1,000, 1,500 up or something like that. So nobody expected this 50% ramp up on Target. But
That's
anyway,
crazy.
right now it kind of was consolidating last week. This is the kind of consolidation that you're seeing across the market on all of tech right now. But Target definitely outdid itself this week, and it did hit that 155, 156 price target that I was setting out. Right now, 150 is something that you can look for an entry again. If you get inflation higher or something around there, this is one of the stocks that you want to look out for again. This and Walmart, obviously, these are your two stocks that you want to look out for on the defensive sector spaces. So that's why I wanted to bring this up.
Jody's trying to be funny here with the 2 contracts. Jody, I bought 5 contracts. You can stay sick over there. Jody's out today. He's not feeling so hot. And then the last one. And those listening, if you're listening and you want some charts, let's do it. MDB.
MDB,
Yeah.
obviously, we are talking about this a couple of days late, but a nice peekaboo setup, and then kind of ravaged the last 2 days. Looking extremely strong today when compared to the other cloud stocks as well. Like if you look at Snow, it's been in the red, I believe. Now back in the green. D-Dog is another one that's an amazing looking chart, but got pulled back quite a bit after its earnings, and it ravaged about 15% yesterday. Now today with an inside day, but also keep in mind D-Dog always moves with Palo Alto Networks and CrowdStrike. And I think Palo Alto Networks also turned green today. Yeah, up about 0.24%. And also CrowdStrike, I think it's in red right now, but then it was down about 1.5% or something this morning when I was like looking at it for a play. But CrowdStrike also trying to turn green. I think D-Dog
Crowd.
is a
That's
good.
I was going to say that's actually pretty big seller absorption. There is what that looks like on Crowd. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty solid.
Yep. So I think D-Dog is going to do something similar today. It's down about 3.55% right now as we talk, but then I think probably goes back to about 1%, but tomorrow can bounce back quite a bit towards that 270 zone. I think there's no clear resistance until 270 zone that I see on D-Dog. Any dip towards towards 250 is a buy. If that 250 level breaks, you can have a clear cut stop loss. So your risk reward here is like 1 point down and 20 points up. So it's a clean bet that is how I kind of see it. So you can probably play like 260 calls or 270 calls on this, and
That's what I just did. Let's go. 260 calls. So
okay,
having some fun today. I took all 3 of these. Now I can like show my screen and we'll see how we do this week. But it felt like having some fun today. Anything else or father of trades? We got the charter here. Anything you want to have him pull up?
I would say take a look at SoundHound.
Yeah.
Sound.
It's
SOUN.
SOUN.
Yeah.
Oh. SOUN. Let me see. Oh my God. Never traded it. Okay.
It's quite interesting. He just went through it right before you hopped on.
Okay, let me see what's happening. I usually draw my trend lines first, so let's see. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, it's basing right under the trend line. So obviously you have your resistance somewhere around the 8 zone. Yeah. So you have that
There's a large amount of call options that are sitting there. Literally 55,000 call options for
the
next
8
week.
call?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay. So because
and short interest is above 40% of the tradable float at the moment. They're coming off of a double beat with raised guidance.
Oh. Yeah, because if 8 breaks, I think there's quite a bit of move towards the 9.2. So that's a big move for a $8 stock. Yeah, there's a little bit of resistance somewhere around 870-ish, but like that's even 10% move. So
When's their earnings again? Is that coming up?
SoundHound, it happened last week.
Yeah, right. We just talked about that.
Yeah, okay. It happened on Wednesday evening.
Yeah, I think obviously the 9 EMA is curling up. We have the pinch. We are curling up, and any dip towards 7 is a buy. Double inside day, breaking down today, but this actually reminds me of how MU is looking right now. But obviously, this has had that big drawdown. But yeah, I would definitely play that $8 calls. I mean, front run them or something like that. If it moves, you have like a 10 to 15% move that can happen here on Sound. So um, I mean, makes sense taking
Eight
that
dollar
price.
weeklies.
No, next week he said.
Oh,
Yeah,
so for
next week.
21. Okay, 15 cents.
Yeah,
I'm
Got a
also
couple of
sitting
those.
in January $8 and $10 calls for
Mm.
fundamental reasons.
yeah. I mean, I'm not much of a fundamental guy, but
I
the
like to
chart
mix it all.
absolutely looks good, though. Yeah. I mean, it's a great mix. I 100% agree. I just don't have enough time.
Understandable. Understandable.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, any move towards that 7 zone is a buy on the stock at this point, and any move over 8, I think it's a easy 9.2 and I see how you're coming up with that 10 target as well. So yeah, 9.2 to 10 is something that you can target for January. That's gettable.
Yeah.
On stock.
Go to CoreWeave and Nebius just because we have to.
They have earnings today, CoreWeave.
CoreWeave's got it today, and then Nebius is tomorrow.
Yeah, but CoreWeave had that dip under the trend line, recaptured it, very similar to what QQQ is kind of doing right now. Um, I like CoreWave more than NBase per se, but because of how NVIDIA invested in them, and later NVIDIA also invested in NBase, but I kind of like CoreWave. Um, this stock can go back to about 98 to 107. Very high beta name, and when it moves like really fast. So I think 98 is possible. One thing that CoreWave and NBase, both their CEOs have been doing great, especially CoreWave CEO was talking about their debt and how they are going to address it with with the customers and the backlog that they have. So that kind of gives me more confidence on CoreWave than NBase. But it's a great stock to own. But right now, it's just too much going on the neo cloud space with Meta also entering the equation. So I have to see what they say with respect to their earnings call.
Father of Trades, you got a comment here in the sections. Shares on Sound, or are you just playing calls?
I am just playing options. I think that at some point I am probably going to buy into some shares in the Roth for like a nice 5 to 10 year hold, right? Kind of what you and I were talking about, Avi.
Yeah.
Like I think that is a strong fundamental play. It is speculative, but for the moment, I'm just interested in options and honestly, the potential for a squeeze. If we're looking at the big volume, right, the huge short interest, the history of squeezes, and also if you pull up like the volume profile, you can see that the majority of that sell side volume was all put in right around like 6 to 650. And those guys are underwater. Cost to borrow hasn't really increased quite yet. It's slowly creeping up, but we haven't had anything really huge, change there yet. But I honestly, I think that a squeeze is potentially forming.
Excuse me.
I think that right now you're seeing that somebody's trying to trade their way out of that shitty position. So.
That's you. Imagine you're like moving the stock here.
Too big to move.
Yeah.
Too big for me to move.
Some of these small caps. What else we got coming up this week? Cisco is another one that you were talking about probably a month ago.
Yeah, Cisco, we were talking about the break of this one. It hit that 130 target, went right back down. We talked about getting shares anywhere in this gap, this earnings gap, and I've been saying this. If you think MRVL is a $1 trillion company, Cisco is a $1 trillion company too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good on the chart. Obviously, this gap up was, I think, ANET's earnings gap up as well, which Cisco liked. and it's basing around 121. I think they have earnings this week. They will beat. I don't know what the street's reaction will be. One of those stocks that has been extremely strong in the market. One of the tech stocks that has been extremely strong in the market.
Yeah.
So 130 might
Just
come up
like
again very soon.
Let's see if I think I got rid of them. Yeah, I had the 150s for October. I got rid of them though. I think I was down like 10% and got spooked.
Wow.
Anything else we should be looking at from either of you guys?
I'm technically looking at definitely looking at light earnings coming out today. That can move most of the photonic space, GLW, AFI, MRVL, Coher. All of these can move with light. Light CEO also talks about is very optimistic about their future with respect to the demand that's going on right now. And the other aspect of the tailwind of aspect of that news is NVIDIA also cutting down on their memory to use photonics for the speed at which they want to deal with their GPU chips now. I don't know how feasible that is or what's happening there, but that can give a good optimistic view from Light as well. I think NVIDIA is partnered mostly with GLW, Amazon also with GLW, but Light, I don't remember who the partners are, but that
I think
can
they
give
are
a good-
partnered because we had Michael Sakan come on probably 2 months ago, and he was like at least the first person I saw talking about photonics, and he actually went to NVIDIA. You were there too, right? Were you at the NVIDIA conference this year?
No.
Okay. He was there and he was talking about how they had the huge booth and everyone was gathered around it. And then he went up on stage and talked about photonics. And then that's kind of when it really took off. But very cool. Well, we can keep this one short today, unless you had one more thing to say, it looks like. No?
Nothing. I just have nothing. If you bought your MU options when you bought them, I think you're up right now, Avi.
Let's take a
The
look.
stock bounced 4 points, but yeah.
Oh yeah, up 8% on the 950s, and then up 4% on the microns. Let's go. Go buy some free lunch here, Linz. Anyways, we can wrap this up and appreciate it, guys. Tomorrow we'll be live again at 12:30. This was fun with the father of trades. We had some extra insight here that we could bring, but appreciate it, guys. Thanks for coming.
Cause we pop them like over red and vodka. C3, okay, a millionaire.